Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. A second media event involving Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury to promote their upcoming fight, their rematch on February the 22nd, has been held in Los Angeles, and I'm reluctant to call it a press conference as it was dubbed because ultimately a very stage-managed event, and there were only 4 questions that came in towards the end from the media. So not really a press conference as such, more an opportunity to sort of showcase the fighters, and there was sort of directed questions from an MC, Heidi Androl. And yeah, the whole thing, it was a very odd event. That's how I would sort of characterize it. The first one from a week or so ago, it was lacking in a little bit of oomph, but this was different again. And it was very respectful at times, and I'll come to that. But one of the things that was highlighted by the first part of it, about the first 15 minutes of the sort of 30-minute session, was it felt like it was a recap of the first event. Lots of the questions that were coming in from Heidi Androl focused on answers that were given in the first press event, which when they were asked again, we effectively got the same answers. So we were covering a lot of old ground, talking about why did Tyson Fury change trainers and all sorts of questions that we got the first time around. So I was a little bit sort of perplexed as to what they were really going for, but it was clear that they were worried about the sort of level of language and other things that may happen here. And whoever was managing the actual event was trying to anticipate when Wilder or Fury may swear, because there were bits being muted out. But ultimately, obviously, both fighters had been told you need to be on your best behavior because it was going out to, live audiences and such. But I think some of the stage-managed nature of this event kind of killed the personalities of the fighters to an extent, because you could tell they were trying to be on their best behavior. But there were a few nuggets of good information that came out of this 30-minute session between Wilder and Fury. And I got to say, starting off, before they sat down, there was a very good face-off, and it must have gone for about a minute and a half. The person who was up on stage trying to call them to attention to take their seats, an NFL show guy, I'm not exactly sure who it was, but he was saying, come on guys, take a seat, but they were just holding firm, and it was Deontay Wilder that ultimately budged first, but it was to a point where it was ridiculously long, the face-off. So I know some people will look at that and go, was that round 1 to Tyson Fury? I'm not going to read too much into it because this was a piece of promotion, and both guys were seemingly up for it given the intensity of the standoff. But in terms of Tyson Fury, one of the tidbits of information that I thought was interesting, he said that he was currently in camp 269 pounds. And if that's true and that ends up being his fight weight, then it's more than 10 pounds heavier than the first fight. And there has been a lot of talk ahead of this rematch that Tyson Fury may come in heavier. His father, John Fury, has sort of said that when Tyson Fury goes under a certain weight, it's almost like he doesn't have the power where when he's a bit higher. So they seemingly do want to have him coming in, at least over 260 pounds, probably closer to, 265 pounds. He was 263 for the Tom Schwartz fight. He was 254 for the Wallen fight, and I believe he was 256 for the first Deontay Wilder fight back in 2018. So 269, if he does approach something over 265 or 270, somewhere in that range, that certainly is a big change from the first fight. And I know some people will be questioning, is that the right move? Will he be able to still be fleet of foot and evade Deontay Wilder for 12 rounds, carrying the extra weight? Is it going to be a benefit, or will it be some sort of hindrance later on in the fight? Will it impact his stamina? We have seen him do the 12 rounds a number of times now, and, depending on, different weights in his career, he has looked better, or he has looked good, I should say, at higher weights, but also he's gone the distance at lower weights too. So I guess with this fight we're going to see, but some people will argue that having that extra weight would be of no benefit, especially on the stamina front, and that it may be advantage Deontay Wilder. Although Sugar Hill Stewart has been saying in recent days that they want to knock out Deontay Wilder, and Fury having a little bit of extra weight could help in that regard. So over to you what you make of that weight of 269. I'm pretty sure Tyson Fury, there's no need to, for him to exaggerate at this point. They've talked about coming in heavier, and it's likely that he will. It was quite interesting. One of the sort of hallmarks of this media event was the respect that was shown between the two towards each other regarding the strengths and weaknesses, well, mainly the strengths actually. And even Tyson Fury was relatively complimentary of Wilder, his resume, and overall he was of his punch. He talked about Wilder having all the knockouts, knocking out every man that he's faced, and of the few media questions that actually came in, he was asked, did he believe that Deontay Wilder was the greatest puncher of all time? And Fury's simple answer was, numbers don't lie. And the respect shown here, it was a little different to previous events, and even on social media where they've been trashing each other relentlessly at different points, not just this build-up, but the first one back in 2018. And to some extent, this is good for both. And the reason being is if they continually tear strips off each other and say that the other is no good, how can they get any credit when they beat the other guy? So, what they were doing here, giving full respect and talking up the strengths of the others, it will help them afterwards, because they can say, look, this guy was the most dangerous X, or this guy was one of the best boxers, etc. So, overall, it was a subdued event, a little bit odd to start off with, just felt like covering old ground, but it did sort of warm up a little bit with a few bits of information. And even Wilder described Tyson Fury as a breath of fresh air for the heavyweight division, a guy who's not afraid to speak his mind and have fun, unlike some of his other peers in the heavyweight division. And one thing that Fury did also add that he'd have to do to get a win over Deontay Wilder was he would have to back him up, that he does have to put him on his back foot, that he's not just going to sit there in front of him and let Deontay Wilder dictate terms. And putting Deontay Wilder on the back foot, though, is easier said than done. But Tyson Fury at 270 pounds, who potentially may outweigh Deontay Wilder by about 50 pounds, maybe he will be able to do that to some extent. But obviously, if he tries to pressure Deontay Wilder, that could open up some openings for Wilder himself. But what did you make of this event? Was there anything that you really took from it? Overall, very respectful. It was very clean. It was different to other press conferences that we've had. And maybe that's because they were told, look, be on your best behavior, mind your P's and Q's. Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.